Entertainment is in a rough spot right now. Normally I'd talk about how video games are at least picking up the slack, but you take a look at some of the biggest stories out there right now and it's kind of the industry imploding upon itself, and not even just talking about the AAA space, but the indie side of things. Yeah, thanks to Sony meddling in a lot of that stuff. Well, it's kind of a big problem there. And television, well, like, okay, for a lot of the network shows, the seasons have kind of wrapped up, or at least on its last leg. And not a lot of shows are getting renewed, which is kind of crazy to think about in the grand scheme of things. And then when it comes the premium experiences, yeah, next month there's House of the Dragon, but then there's also Star Wars The Acolyte, which those two are going to be running side by side, which is going to be hilarious to compare and contrast to. I need to figure out what I want to do with House of the Dragon season 2. I'll figure something out by the time that it comes out. But when it comes to Hollywood, like, there's no two ways about this. Like, Dune 2 was a bit of a success, but outside of that, like, it's just been bomb after bomb after bomb. If you thought 2023 was bad, like, we all took a look at the release schedule of 2024 and went, ooh, it's going to be a lean year. But if Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't come out and do gangbusters, like, this year is done, bro. Like, this is atrocious, because even your middling releases, okay, Ryan Gosling, you know, off the back of the big success of the Barbie film, ends up underperforming with The Fall Guy, which I hear is decent, good if anything, but it only had a $28 million opening weekend. That's absolutely crazy when it was projected to do much more than that. Well, it was projected to do at least 30, coming in at 28.5 million, this range for an original action comedy, even when the star, is Ryan Gosling. Like, I hear he's a movie star. I just, whenever I see him in films, see him looking around the corner while standing in a fixed position, nothing about him screams movie star. I don't know, man. That's just my take on things. Post-track exits report he's 50% of the reason why people went to see the movie versus 35% for Emily Blunt. Now, the pick took in $25.4 million from offshore markets, raising the foreign gross to $36.9 million. Yeah, global to $65.4 million. I think it was $130 million budget is what I seen. So it's going to flop. It's going to end up losing money. The opening for Fall Guy is actually on the higher end of Gosling starts. Yeah, exactly. He's not a movie star, guys. Raked third after, Anomaly of Barbie, of course. Yes, Blade Runner 2049, $32.7 million. A sequel to a film which was a legendary flop in theaters and only became successful due to its cult status and DVD and VHS Laserdisc sales. Yet further down on Blunt's, which is kind of crazy, because I think when it comes to starlets, like Emily Blunt, pretty reliable earner from what I can tell. It's the 9th best opening of her career, short of Edge of Tomorrow, which was again a middling success, and Jungle Cruise, yes, with an asterisk. It did have, a day and date POVD on a Disney Plus. So what gives? Why is Fall Guy playing like a deflated balloon, even with a great cinema score and a 90% on post-track? Yeah, like, I've heard good things about this. People that did watch it seem to have a good time with it. Okay. First, yes, we're still in an uneven marketplace. Won't be out of it until we have more movies towards the end of the month and into June, leading up to Inside Out 2. Yes, Disney's big animated offering this year. That's going to be fun to track. On Father's Day weekend, yes, the entire box office weekend is totaling around $73 million, off from 55% from the same frame a year ago. Guardians of the Galaxy led off the summer with $118 million, which was, again, under estimates. But because of the decent word of mouth and the fact that it didn't have a lot of competition, it ended up turning a middling profit, one of the only films Disney had that entire year that did that for them. But in Fall Guy, despite how well it plays to the audiences, South by Southwest crowds were belly laughing, there's nothing that screams rush to this, despite Universal showing off the fun and romance in its campaign. It's too inside Hollywood, and these types of movies never play out to an uber-wide crowd. Most of all, it's an original event film at $130 to $150 million. This movie is too damn expensive. That's a big problem, and that's another conversation that needs to be had. Of these inflated budgets, even for the middling releases. Like, if this film was made for $50 million, which, given the fact it's about stunt actors and stuff like that, like, why does it need to be $100 plus million? It's like, Emily Blunt is a known quantity. Ryan Gosling is a known quantity. Why else do you need a budget that high? Joker 2, for as great as that trailer was and as anticipated as that releases, you're looking at what, like a super huge budget? Yeah, and I know that licensing music is quite costly and that could end up driving up the costs, but when the original was made on a $50 million budget and made over $1 billion, even if Joker 2 does hit $1 billion, I don't think it will, because it's not going to be that same rate on return. And yeah, even if Fall Guy was the big hit of the year, the sleeper hit of the year, you're digging into your profits off rip by putting that much money up front. But while this film will probably just end up being another one of those, yeah, it's decent, kind of like the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Probably already forgot that one came out because it's already on streaming services. It's kind of like this, yeah, probably within a couple of weeks it'll get turned around and thrown on a streaming service. Nothing's going to end up holding a candle to the disasters of last year. There are even some pictures in that picture right there that you already forgot about. Did you even remember that the Haunted Mansion reboot came out? No. Only Disney does, because they lost a lot of money on that. Wish, hilarious. Indiana Jones and the Derp of Destiny. There was an Indiana Jones film that came out last year, and it lost a lot of money. Not as much as The Flash, and then also not as much as The Marvels. But we're going to talk specifically about Disney detonates 4 bombs and Deadline's 2023 Most Valuable Blockbuster Tournament. And that doesn't even tell the entire story, mostly because we got some new numbers. So let's take a look at some of those pictures that were there. Okay, so The Flash lost $155 million for Warner Brothers. Thankfully, they could offset those losses with Barbie, some of them, but still, you would have liked to have, those massive gains without losing $155 million. But it's not necessarily telling the entire story because it's running with certain outdated numbers. We don't know the full extent of the budget or the marketing budget over the top of it, and this thing was pushed everywhere. Released well before the actor strike, it doesn't help that your leading star is making lots of tabloid headlines. Person being Ezra Miller. Miller was kept at bay in regards to promoting the DC movie. Yeah, that's so funny, right? Like, you don't have your lead star out there for one of your biggest movies of the year. Kind of crazy, right? But yes, it also had Michael Keaton as some form of Batman, and either available in limited doses or shied away from doing press. Still, props to Warner Brothers administrations of Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi, as well as DC bosses James Gunn and Peter Safran. Yeah, James Gunn, just shaking and spilling any of his remaining legitimacy by saying, this is the greatest superhero film I've ever seen in my life. It's like, come on, man, everybody knows that thing was trash. But saying that film only cost $200 million and that you only had, an additional 200 in marketing, is like, that's not even close. Not even close at all. We know that budget was somewhere north of $300 million. It's highly regarded as one of, if not the most expensive films to create of all time. So that's not accurate. And then you have, yes, The Dial of Destiny losing $143 million. Well, that's not close because, yeah, production costs, that one might actually be a little bit more accurate, but still, $300 million, I heard it was a lot higher than that, but okay, still, yeah, lost $143 million. Wish, an animated film costing $200+ million in production costs. It doesn't make sense at all. Haunted Mansion, yeah, might as well just round this out, $117 million, again, for a film that nobody even remembers came out. The big loser on the year, The Marvels, $237 million down the drain. Remember, it only made a shade over $200 million. And even for them to say, oh, actually, our at-home releases, the fact that we could have it on streaming, it's Disney paid for Disney's product, so they didn't make any money off of it. And hell, you could take a look at the fact that they're hemorrhaging subscribers for Disney Plus. It didn't make any money. It didn't make money. It didn't make $100 million $100 million domestically. It barely made $200 million worldwide. And for them to say it only cost $270 million, I mean, we know you're lying. Even with those goofy ass numbers that you have right there, that was the budget that was announced back in 2022 before any of the reshoots were done. This thing cost over $300 million. And like we had the Ant-Man releases come out earlier this year, a couple of weeks ago, when we see the actual budget come out for the Marvels, we'll be able to see how big of a bomb this actually was. To the surprise of absolutely no one, save the most diehard and delusional of the franchise's dwindling fan base, the Marvel Cinematic Universe most recent entry, The Marvels, has been revealed to have been not only the worst performing film of 2023, but also a more than $200 million sinkhole for the already financially embaddered Disney. The confirmation of Marvel sequel Crash was provided by Deadline's Anthony D'Alessandro as part of their most valuable blockbuster tournament, the annual feature wherein the outlet compares the financial results of the previous year's cinematic releases as relayed by them by a seasoned and trusted sources to see which film was the best performing among the audience. Sadly for Disney, confirmation of just how far their quality has fallen. 15 films released by the House of Mouse and the subsidiaries, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Chevalier, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Little Mermaid, The Boogeyman, Elemental, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Theater Camp, Haunted Mansion, A Haunting in Venice, which I heard was good. The Creator, heard was something. The Marvels, Next Goal Wins, Wish, and Poor Things. Don't worry guys, it's going to be on streaming now. To this end, while previous box office reports have confirmed that The Marvels was an absolute disaster for the studio. Its theatrical run was the lowest performing in the entire franchise. Don't even need to adjust it for inflation. It simply was. It was not until Deadline spoke to their aforementioned sources. The true extent of the film's failure was truly known. The Marvels pulled in a total of $218 million in revenue, with roughly $88 million of that coming in from theatrical ticket sales, $40 million from home video sales, which I don't even know how accurate that is, and $90 million from various streaming releases. Again, you sell it to Disney Plus, and who owns Disney Plus? I digress. However, in light of expenses amounting $455 million, $270 million from a reported production cost, that's low. That's absolutely low. And $54 million from interest and overhead. The film ultimately cost the studio a net total of $237 million. As for other Disney films in Deadline's bottom five, Haunted Mansion reportedly lost $117 million, Wish said goodbye to $131 million, and Dial of Destiny burned $143 million. While Disney doesn't have that many releases on the schedule this year, Inside Out 2, I think they got the sequel, prequel, requel, whatever also on the schedule, and then of course Deadpool and Wolverine. It will not hit those same lows. But when 2025 rolls around and they got the entire sked coming out once again, it'll be funny to see how much more pain and suffering the once great House of Mouse can endure. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.